Today, on Running to Him, John receives his mission in a vision of the risen Christ. Today's reading from the reading plan is Revelation chapter 1, verses 9 through 20, and we will be concentrating on verses 17 through 20. Revelation 1, 17 through 20 says, "When I saw him, I fell at his feet like a dead man, and he placed his right hand on me, saying, 'Do not be afraid. I am the first and the last, and the living one, and I was dead, and behold, I am alive forevermore. And I have the keys of death and of Hades. Therefore write the things you have seen, and the things which are, and the things which will take place after these things. As for the mystery of the 7 stars which you saw in my right hand, and the 7 golden lampstands, the 7 stars are angels of the 7 churches, and the 7 lampstands are the 7 churches." In today's full reading, verses 9 through 20 reflect a sense of excitement and wonder and fear. John, who is exiled on the island of Patmos, about 40 miles from Ephesus, is working in the mines as a slave, condemned there because of his faith. During a time of rest, he is enveloped by a vision with a frightful display of glory and majesty. In front of him stands Christ, but not as John has seen him, with possibly the exception of the Transfiguration. See Matthew 17, 1 through 8, Mark 9, 2 through 8, Luke 9, 28 through 36, and 2 Peter 1, 16 through 18. John falls on his face in fear, and Christ reaches down to comfort him. He then informs John of who he is and John's task before him. Christ's description of himself, found in the last portion of verse 17 and all of verse 18, clearly shows John that he, Christ, is God. Now, please understand, I am not suggesting that he is God the Father, but rather God the Son, the second person of the Godhead, the Trinity. Christ also explains he has the keys to death and Hades. This statement of controlling death and Hades is important because it shows John and us that Christ is the ruler and controls the judgment. Later in chapter 20, and previously seen in Matthew chapter 25, verses 31 through 46, Christ is seen sitting on a throne and judging all who have lived. If you remember a question I posed in a previous devotion, someone might ask concerning who is the rightful ruler of the world, man or Satan. Here the answer is clearly stated: man is the ruler. John is to write what he has seen in the past and in the present, and the things which will occur. He is not told the reason for the command, only that he is to do it. And that command brings up an important point. When God places us in a situation, he has a purpose in mind. Our job is to be aware of the situation and act while searching out for his purpose. Action in prayer and deed is the way that we grow in our walk with Christ. Finally, I'd like to reflect on verse 20 just for a moment. We can approach the book of Revelation as a picture of the world around us, some form of allegory or story, or we can approach it as both. And I think the wise way to view it is as both. Some parts are as allegorical and historical as well, such as Revelation chapter 12, where Satan attempts to thwart Christ's birth in a very pictorial way. But verse 18 is not allegorical. It is an accurate reflection of God's providence towards mankind. There are examples in scriptures where angels interact with man. See Daniel chapter 9, Genesis 18, etc. It is not unreasonable to think that God has assigned angels to protect groups of people as well. Therefore, rather than designate the angels mentioned in verse 20 as a pastor or bishop, we can easily assume that these are physical angels to serve and protect the church. Now, I don't want to necessarily push this verse into a theology of a guardian angel. Still, it is not unreasonable to assume that God sometimes protects individuals through the ministry of angels as well. Thank you for listening. We pray that today's devotion was meaningful to you. We would love to hear from you. You can use either Facebook or YouTube to like, subscribe, share, and tell others about us. If you would like to contact us, you can reach me at phineasjacobus@runningtohim.net.